guys, welcome to today's tutorial, which is going to be about dolphin pose. And dolphin pose is one of my personal favorites. It's not everybody's. I think a lot of people have a bit of a love-hate relationship to this pose because it is tiring on the shoulders, but I truly believe it's really beneficial for strength and mobility. It's one of those poses that has a little bit of both, which is fabulous. Because it kind of almost kills two birds with one stone, right? Now, I'm going to break it down and give us some drills and alternatives and modifications and things that we can kind of mix up a little bit when we come into a general vinyasa class. And a few things that might make it a little clearer on what we can do depending on how you're feeling and where you're at. So dolphin pose, it is a tiring one and it will fatigue your muscles if we're constantly going into them. So it is important that you learn that and take breaks when you need to rest, recoup, and then ready to go again. It's not just about going hard all the time. So which is why having these different variations of the pose is fantastic, because we can mix it up a little bit and have a slightly different focus every time we go into it. So I'm going to break down right now the arm position. So with dolphin pose, with the forearms down on the floor, you can bring your forearms down onto your knees here, and you can grab hold of your opposite elbows or your forearms or biceps, and then plant the hands straight down in front of you. So you've got these two parallel train track lines here. And then when you're there, just take a moment, look at them, claw your fingers into the floor, press down the mounds of the hands and the fingers there, so that you have a really strong grip and grounding. And then when you're in this position, the first stage really, once you've got the hands and the forearms nailed, is you rock it forward and back. So this is going to start to get that mobility in the shoulders. And you may even want to kind of almost undulate your spine and go forward and back. Maybe change the direction that you might be traveling, winging the shoulders and then protruding forward. So you can feel how much mobility there is right now, which is great. We also need to add in that stability. So what we can do is bring the chest forward and start to protract through the shoulder blades, which is lift up and separate the shoulder blades and retract, squeeze the shoulder blades together, protract, really strong, claw down the fingertips, retract. And then as we kind of add a little bit of core into it, you can do pretty much the same thing. Lift the knees off the floor, just hover the knees off the ground, rock it forward and back and feel a bit more powerful in the shoulders and the upper arms. Pull the navel in. So you're getting a nice strong spine. Imagine you're hugging a brick in between the thighs so that the inner thighs get involved here, and then you can take a little break. That's a great thing to start to get used to being on your forearms, start to being in that slight position. And then if you're going to start to come up, lifting up into dolphin, my first cue usually when I'm teaching is actually for everybody to take the feet out about as wide as the mat. Take the feet out about as wide as the mat, lift the knees, send the tailbone up. Now keep your knees bent. Drop the head through the arms, push the floor away. And again, it's like you're trying to lift the head away from the floor rather than sort of collapsing. So you're trying to lift the head away from the floor, try and broaden the space between the shoulder blades. And what this will do is start to get the serratus anterior around the side of the ribs ready. Because you're in an inversion, you've got your head below the heart, keep your knees bent. So you've got your tailbone lifting up towards the sky. And this is particularly helpful for anyone that has quite tight hamstrings. So if you try and bring your feet closer together, you can come into a narrower stance. You can still keep your knees bent, maybe walk your feet a little bit closer up towards the elbows. If you find that when you come into this position, that you're rounding your lower back, you can see that my lower back is rounded, I would always recommend to bend the knees, try and tilt the tailbone up towards the sky, and open the knees, open the feet out wider if you need to. And then you can lower down. Take those breaks, you're definitely going to need to. So it's a lot of this pose is about exploring what feels accessible in your body. Having your feet out wide, bending the knees, tilting the tailbone up towards the sky, having that anterior tilt. So you've got a nice long spine as well. is really helpful. Then you can walk the feet in, see where you're at, walk the feet up, see where you're at, bend the knees, straighten the knees, have a little time to play. The whole time, the forearms and the hands, they're pretty solid, right? They're gonna stay where they are. So that's us trying to find the shape, find the pose. And then I'm gonna give us a few little drills. So you decide wide, narrow, up towards the elbows, a little bit further back. What is good for you? What can you hold? What feels like everything's switched on? Then a good little drill here is actually walking the feet up and then walking the feet back, down, maybe even fully into a low plank. So walking all the way up, trying to keep the shoulders above the elbows, and then walking the feet back. Remember, you can keep the knees bent and then keep them bent as you step them back. And you can also just practice low planks here as well, rocking it forward and back, protract, retract. All of this is going to be very helpful for going into Dolphin and beyond. Drill number 1, walk the feet up and down. Trying to keep the upper body nice and stable. Option variation number 2 is lifting the elbows and the forearms off the floor, either one at a time or both together. Now you can do this simply like I am in right now, almost like a child's pose, or you can do it more traditional all fours. Practice this. I want you to imagine that you've pretty much got like an elastic band wrapped around your upper arm so that the elbows can't jolt out to the side. They go straight up and down, back into the train track line, parallel line, up and down. That is honestly one of the best things that you can do for training like the triceps. And it will help you with your chaturangas, that whole sort of notion of keeping the elbows quite close and narrow in towards the ribs in a way. So you can kind of adopt that into your Dolphin preps. So you can practice that on your knees, one at a time. And then you can start to practice that in your Dolphin itself. Decide wide, narrow, short, long. You can lift one elbow up at a time. Maybe switching which one goes first and lowers down. Or claw those fingers into the floor. Lift them both up. Down dog. Lower them both down. Dolphin. Up and down. Good to stay with your breath. Keep it going. And then lower down when you're ready. So that's a really good one to tire out the arms. And of course, a really popular one is Dolphin press-ups. Come into your Dolphin. Claw the fingers into the floor. Inhale, chin forward towards your thumbs. Exhale, head back through the arms. This is really good for the mobility. Inhale, chin forward to thumbs, rock forward slightly. Exhale, head back. Inhale forward, maybe every time you try to go a little bit lower to the floor. Exhale, head back. A few of those guys. Good job. Take a moment, you can bring the arms down by your sides, give them a proper little rest here. And know this work, you get more tolerant with it. It does become a little bit easier over time, but it is a long burner. So you've got the walking up and down, you've got the lifting the elbows, you've got the Dolphin press-ups, rocking forward and back, you've got work in your low plank, you've got work in, with your knees down. So many little things that are going to help piece this together. Then when you start to want to lift the legs up, so I'm not going to go into a Pincha, which is the forearm stand. I mean, all of this is going to help you lift up into Pincha. Notice how I say lift up and not always kick up. Really, we want to adopt the lift more than the kick. So if you're going to start to lift the legs, same deal. Super strong through the hands and the forearms. Push, engagement in the chest and the upper back. Lengthen the spine. And what I like to remind people of is when they lift a leg away from the ground up towards the sky, that foot is in an open kinetic chain. So right now my foot is in a closed kinetic chain because it's against something, it's against the floor. So there's like energy bouncing between the ground and the foot. When you're in an open kinetic chain and there's nothing supporting the foot, I mean, it's very easy to kind of let it be kind of floppy and just forget that it's there. And we end up throwing away energy. We end up making it feel a bit heavier. So if you can keep the foot flexed, and I'll show you in a minute, if you can keep the foot flexed, loads of activation in the legs, really, really strong, lifting up into Pincha is going to be much, much better. So come into Dolphin. Let's go for the right leg first. So flex the right foot. Lift the right leg up towards the sky, as high as you want it to go. Keep the foot flexed, claw the fingers into the floor, push away from collapsing down, like collapsing into the chest and into the ground, push away from it. Then what I like to do is look forward towards the thumbs and rise up onto the left tiptoes even more. Just see if I can do almost like a dolphin press up, and then lower it down. Switch it to the other side, flex the left foot, kick the heel up towards the sky. Gaze forward, dolphin press up, lift up onto your right tiptoes the whole time the left foot is flexed, and then lower it down. Take a moment, come all the way down, rest the arms down by your sides. And then the next stage, we'll probably be working into going upside down. I won't do that one today. If you have a brick, this is also a good little thing to practice if you are very serious about going into a Pincha. If you've got a brick, try and place the brick in between the thumb and the index finger there, like an L shape, a 90-degree L shape. And before you even put it on the floor, you can kind of hold it out in front of you and try and squeeze. Squeeze the sides of the hands in to the brick. And that can be quite a lot. You can kind of see my biceps bulging. Engage, and then bring the forearms and the hands down. Keep squeezing the brick in that 90-degree angle with the finger and the thumb. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And you can kind of practice the whole little drill section that I taught you. Feet up, feet down. Focus on squeezing the brick the whole time. And then you can focus on squeezing it. What was the next one? We lift the forearms up. This is definitely suitable for those that can lift the forearms up and down at the same time. Forearms down. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Squeeze, 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 squeeze down. Dolphin press up, rock forward, rock back, forward squeeze, back squeeze. And then you can try lifting the legs up one at a time. When you feel ready, completely up to you. What can happen is we're so focused on maybe what the bum's doing or where the hips are, that sometimes we can forget about the hands. And ultimately, we want to stand on these guys. So we want them to be really solid. Having that brick there as a point of focus can remind us of where our foundations are. What are we going to stand on? So that's everything I'm going to say about Dolphin today. Pooped. Give yourselves breaks. So give your muscles a moment to recover. Go back into it. If you're getting really frustrated with it, step away from it. Come back to it another time. There's no point getting really frustrated in your practice. You're going to go through those ups and downs all the time. This is a long journey. It's a process, and progress will come. So try a few of those out. And when you're next in a class or doing an online class and they shout out Dolphin, you do something different. Like as in you do a different variation, try it out, see what happens, and maybe try another one. So hopefully that's been helpful for you. Let me know how you get on with it. And that would be it. Have fun. Watch the upper body get stronger. Have a good day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.